Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar by Metis. Today, we will be discussing Directive 8. My name is Thea. I'm from MIE.
My name's Anja, and I'm Head of Operations from MIE.
MIE is the largest background screening company in Southern Africa. We offer all kinds of screening, from background screening to psychometric assessments, up into commercial screening. Anything you want to check or screen, we can assist you with. Today, as I mentioned, we are discussing Directive 8 and PCC 55 and what the implications of this legislation is for accountable institutions. What is Directive 8, right? So this was issued by the Financial Intelligence Center in March 2023. And what it does is it mandates that accountable institutions has to screen both prospective and current employees for both competence and integrity. They also have to scrutinize employee information against any targeted financial sanctions lists. The purpose of this is to ensure that these institutions identify and manage the risks associated with money laundering, terrorist, and proliferation financing within the financial sector. So that's quite a big word. Anja, would you like to tell us what proliferation financing refers to?
That has to do with financing of weapons of mass destruction.
So this is all very, very scary and big words that we were looking at here. And this is why the directive was actually brought in, because it is in response to shortcomings identified by the Financial Action Task Force, which Anja is going to tell us a bit more about.
Right, so the Financial Action Task Force is an intergovernmental organization established by the G7 countries. They developed the task force to monitor and regulate any possibilities of money laundering and terrorism funding. So they review policies and legislations within the countries that or the members, and then they suggest certain changes or additional legislations that need to come into place to prevent money laundering and funding of terrorists. And we are the only country in Africa that's part of their membership.
Oh, wonderful. So we're also the only country in Africa that failed.
Yes.
Right. So can you tell us maybe a bit more about that? Anja, if I say we failed, what does that actually mean for us as a country?
They grey listed us because we did not meet all the requirements that they set out for their membership. So that's why we've got the FIC Act. That's the Financial Investigation Center, the act that they created to ensure that all accountable institutions follow a certain set of rules and risk-based management compliance programs that help the government and within our organizations as well to monitor possible money laundering, possible terrorism financing, and also identify gaps within the industries that is possible risks that need to be mitigated.
Okay, and so if we are grey listed, Anja, are we still grey listed? What's the situation there?
We are at the moment still grey listed. They are going to review our status at the end of this month or next month, and hopefully they will lift the grey listing this year still. Oh. But Directive 8 is one of the most important things that we do need to accept as our reality, because with grey listing comes increased interest, and we are not looking too good to the outside world for investing in our country.
Yeah, so that has a negative impact on basically everything regarding our financial situation in the country.
Definitely.
So what the FIC aims to mitigate is the risk of accountable institutions being exploited by criminals, right? So this will be prospective or current employees, but not only that, also individuals who exist outside of the organization, but that might have an influence on prospective or current employees.
Yes, definitely. So, for example, a high-risk individual would be someone of senior management or that has access to facilitate large transactions, and then also, who are attached to that person in their private life. Are they exposed to politically important people that can practice influence over them, or are they in a financial situation where they owe a lot of money to some loan sharks, and now they have access to the bank accounts of the accountable institutions?
Right. So when we speak of accountable institutions, I think it's also important to maybe just have a look at that, because there are many accountable institutions. There is a full list. We're just going to just highlight a few here. Obviously, you can refer to MIE for a full list of the accountable institutions. So we will be basically looking at a wide variety of companies, of organization types, right? It will be from estate agents to banks, so that will be mutual or cooperative banks. It will be anybody carrying on the business of long-term life insurance, any FSP, so any financial services provider, attorneys, advocates, law firms, anybody that acts in the business of a credit provider, including where credit is provided in terms of a credit agreement, entity involved in investment, any entity involved with dealing in high value goods over 100,000 rand. So you can hear that it's actually it's a wide list. And if you are unsure, if you are one of these accountable institutions, please also do reach out to us. So we look at certain employer responsibilities when it comes to Directive 8, right? So these accountable institutions has to follow certain guidelines to be compliant with these regulations. So what that basically is in a nutshell is they have to screen prospective and current employees for competency as well as integrity. And they need to do this periodically using a risk-based approach as per Public Compliance Communication 55, PCC 55 that I mentioned earlier. Also very important is that they have to scrutinize this employee detail against targeted financial sanctions lists. And all of these procedures for screening and scrutinizing needs to be documented and the records maintained, and this must be able to be provided to the FIC or any supervisory body if they request it. So I mentioned PCC 55. So all this is it's a guideline. It provides guidance to accountable institutions at application of the Directive. So what this says is that screening must be done periodically using a risk-based approach. So Anja, can you tell us a bit more about what a risk-based approach actually means and how companies can use this to screen their employees?
So the fixed intention with that wording is because they don't want a template being used. They don't want something that is general or that can apply to everybody, because each accountable institution is unique, and that's also the risk that they are exposed to is unique. So RMCP, a risk management compliance program, is unique to each accountable institutions. The FIC usually looks at that, and if that is not in accordance with their rules and the regulations, you do get an administrative fine of millions and millions of rands. So in that RMCP, you'll identify your employee group as either high, medium, or low risk. As previously mentioned, a high risk is someone that has access to the bank account that can facilitate transactions. A lower risk person would, for example, be a receptionist. But you do need to specify exactly what the person's position is, their responsibilities, the type of access they have to the systems and the data. But like I said, we do have a large knowledge base here at MIE, and we can facilitate the discussions on what is necessary, for example, screening a high risk versus screening a low risk employee.
Absolutely. So as Anja mentioned, not all employees pose the same level of risk, right? So what also is outlined in PCC 55 is that institutions determine the level of risk an employee poses, and the screening applied is proportionate to the level of risk that the employee presents. Okay, and now we're going to divide it into two different types of screenings that is required. Screening for competence. So the FIC is of the view that this refers to determining if the employee has the necessary skills, knowledge, expertise to actually perform their duties, right? The institution has flexibility to determine the manner of the screening, but we need to know if this person can actually do his job in terms of his knowledge and his qualifications, etc. Then we also need to screen for integrity. So in the context of Directive 8, integrity relates to honesty and moral principles of the employee. The timing of the screening is also very important. As the word periodically is used in Directive 8, this indicates that screening must occur on an ongoing basis. And this refers back to your risk-based approach, as Anja explained earlier. A high-level risk employee will be screened more regularly than a medium risk or a low risk employee. And that is up to the institution to decide on. But what is very important to remember is that the periodically used word means that it has to be ongoing. Okay? Accountable institutions must screen all prospective employees. So before they start working at your organization, you need to check them for both integrity and for competence. And thereafter, all employees must be screened on a periodic basis, dependent on the risk level.
Just to remind everybody, integrity is in our name.
Absolutely. Absolutely. MIE does stand for Managed Integrity Evaluation. Thank you, Anja, for bringing that up. That is very important to remember. Okay, so how can MIE assist? Okay, that's why we're having this talk, to actually explain to everybody out there, our clients, and also companies who's not yet our clients, how can MIE assist you with complying with Directive 8 screening regulations, right? So let's look firstly at screening for competency. As I mentioned earlier, that means, checking the knowledge, checking the qualifications. So this may include a person's previous employment history, their references, their qualifications, and also their accreditations or their membership to professional associations that they might need to perform their duty. So MIE can verify any qualifications, memberships of professional associations, and also confirm all previous employment or do more intense employment reference checks for anybody at their previous employment. Okay. We can also do this globally, so we can do this anywhere in the world. It does not have to be South Africa only. And then looking at screening for integrity. So this may include criminal record checks. And what they are looking for is particularly crimes related to dishonesty, money laundering, or other financial crimes. So MIE offers criminal record checks, which gives a full view of a person's criminal history. This can be done in conjunction with a fraud check. So MIE also suggests using this service as well, which checks the South African Fraud Prevention Services listing for any findings. So there we're covered for our screening for integrity and we're covered for our screening for competency, right? But then there's the other factor we have to look at, which is scrutinizing employee information against targeted financial sanctions listing. Okay, all employees, prospective as well as current, must be checked against sanctions and UN Security Council resolutions list every year. MIE offers a product that they call World Check, which is a comprehensive verification covering all of these necessary sanction lists. So another thing that I just want to mention here is when we again go back to the timing of the screening and the use of the word periodically. So remember, once you check a qualification with MIE, that qualification is checked. You do not need to screen this every year. Okay, so once when you employ someone, you check whether the qualification is valid, that is done. Right. Same with the references, except if there's a new job that you want to check. If that's done, that is done by MIE. You do not need to do it again. What we are looking for with periodically is obviously any verification type where your status can change. And that is especially your criminal record check. Okay. You can be clear today, tonight you get arrested, tomorrow you do have a criminal record check. That is why it needs to be periodic screening. This also refers to World Check because you can be listed at any time.
Yeah, I think also that we need to remember is a simple Google search on fixed penalties would show you guys that they are in for it. They are fining big banks millions and millions of rands. So this is not something that we should take up lightly. So please reach out so that we can assist you with your Directive 8.
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, we've been hearing of big fines these days, so it is very important to comply. Thank you so much for taking this time to be with us. We hope that you did find it informative. In the description below, you will find a link to our website as well as to some further information on Directive 8 and the services that MIE can offer you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.